What's going on, guys? So in front of you, you were looking at three really incredible vehicles, all for different reasons. So I am out here in Auburn Hill, Michigan, next to the Stellantis or the Ram Global, or at least North American headquarters. And we are gonna look at something kind of unique today. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but in the meantime, we have these three beautiful trucks to look at. The truck I was lent, and these two other trucks. But who's behind the wheel of these two trucks? Hang tight, I'll be right back. All right, so if you've watched my channel for a while, you know you've seen this guy because you probably subscribed to that channel before you subscribed to my channel. So who do we have in front of us here? You want to introduce yourself, my friend?
Well, this is just Andre from TFL Truck and TFL Off-Road.
And all the other TFL brands.
Well, we do have a few channels, yes.
You do have a few. Great resource, everything vehicle. Whether you're shopping for a car, SUV, EV, motorcycle, power sport vehicle, airplane, helicopter.
No helicopters, and I only do pickup trucks and big SUVs. So that's my specialty, but we have a big team of people as well.
TFL Military.
There you go.
Well, it's getting there.
Yeah.
We just bought a deuce and a half, a bobbed deuce and a half.
Have you posted on it yet?
Yes, that was a couple days ago.
Go check that out, guys.
Yes.
Awesome resource. This guy's a great guy. And next to us,
and
we
I just
have...
bought an M1 Abrams, so I one-upped you. So
wow, that is awesome.
My name is Nick. I'm with Auto Buyer's Guide. We do a lot of high volume sale vehicles. So everything either 100,000 units sold or $100,000 below. So
okay.
I'm based out of the Seattle area. So this is all different landscape and people from all different walks of life. So it's nice to meet you guys and also see these different trucks.
Absolutely. So 100,000 sales or more. What about a truck that costs $100,000?
Yeah, well, this just barely scrapes into our criteria. This one is 99 and some change with all options included. Now, this is something that we would review, so I am going to do a full video on this. Kind of more of an overview because my boss Alex was down in Nevada. Was that where
yeah,
it was?
That was near Laughlin. Exactly,
okay, yeah. So he did a little bit more of a thorough review on this for the first drive. So it's going to be interesting. I had a great time driving this so far, but there's some downfalls and some upsides. So yeah, it's a good truck.
Traditionally, what type of trucks do you drive? Do you review a lot of heavy duty trucks?
No, we do a lot. We do a lot of like more like 1500s, F-150s. That's kind of more our criteria because the towing aspect of things is really hard to test and kind of produce in a quick fashion alone if you're not a channel like yours. So we don't really do, this is kind of out of our wheelhouse a little bit, but we do cover these every once in a while.
You know, what's interesting is Andre and I drive a lot of heavy duty trucks.
Yeah.
And we've done Davis Dam, we've done all the big towing events. So your perspective to me is actually more important than my own perspective.
I'm new to this.
Yeah, you're kind of new to this whole segment, and we were talking about payload earlier because I win, by the way. I win.
Yeah, you do win. Yeah.
I mean, if you had to spend your money on any of these trucks, which ones would you spend your money on?
Well, also, you're Laramie. So let's introduce the trucks really quick.
Yeah, let's do that.
So your dually is a Laramie Sport, and I think that's pretty funny when you call the dually a sport.
Yes, yes.
But it is a sport because it's kind of monochromatic, you know, painted bumpers and a little bit of surrounds. And all three trucks are Cummins powered.
Yes, they are.
This is the latest iteration of their Cummins engine, right?
Yep.
And also 8-speed ZF automatic.
Yep.
This is the Rebel, right?
Yep. This is the Rebel with the Cummins, so this is a $13,000 option on this truck. This obviously probably does not come with a Hemi, is that correct?
You can get a dually with a Hemi still, I believe.
I think you might be, but I've never seen one.
I've driven one, and it was
a unicorn.
It's a
unicorn.
Probably
was a unicorn.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, but this is the Rebel with the Cummins, so it does have the new 1075 torque and 430 horsepower.
Yeah.
So it definitely has a lot of get up and go. And like you mentioned, that ZF 8-speed, especially in this application, I'm sure it feels pretty good in there as well. But that's a lot heavier of a vehicle. This thing moves out pretty dang well.
It really does.
It's
that granny low gear that they put in it really, really does well.
And I was a little bit flashier today, so my lone vehicle is this. This is a limited, so...
This is your style, brother.
No, I actually like your dually.
I know, I think everyone
does. So this is a little bit more premium, kind of luxurious truck. It's also a 2500, just like the Rebel. But look at this, come over here. It's kind of a unique configuration because this is an 8-foot bed.
Yes, it is.
In a 2500. limited, so it's kind of a luxurious truck. It does not have a gooseneck package,
Okay.
and it doesn't have a lot of payload.
Really doesn't need the gooseneck package considering the payload. You know,
Right.
if we think ideally what a truck in this configuration with the long bed's for, this is a travel trailer conventional towing king. That's the glove fit for something like this. Long wheelbase, which
Yes.
means you're not going to have a huge lever. You're going to have a long lever arm whenever you're pulling whatever you're pulling. You're going to have a lot of weight. You're going to have a lot of control.
Exactly, and you know, the tow ratings are pretty high, but payload numbers on these 2500s is good enough for my bag.
Yes, don't overload the bag.
No, I'm kidding, of course, but this is like 1,830 pounds. So this is not really a lot of payload on this truck.
Yep. So you throw a family of 4 inside of here, maybe a few things in the bed, weight distribution hitch, you could probably expect maybe around a 10,000 pound travel trailer.
Yeah, or maybe a larger boat, right?
Yes,
you
or
can
a larger boat.
pull a very nice boat with this truck in comfort, right? And also have a luxurious interior.
And you have air suspension.
Yeah, rear air.
Yep, so you're
I
going to
think
get
the
good level.
Rebel has rear air as well.
Correct, yeah. So yours is an 8-foot bed. Would you argue that an 8-foot bed is better for a gooseneck trailer than a 6.5-foot
Like a
bed?
fifth wheel.
It probably would be, just because you're going to get better turning angles out of it. You know, from a sway perspective, it's not going to matter that much because you're placing the weight directly over the axle. But this is a weird configuration.
Yeah, for sure. So we have the gooseneck package on this one with the rear air. So it definitely is equipped to tow, but on this one, what was your payload on yours?
1830.
Yeah, this one's 1972.
Okay.
So still not a lot.
So not a lot more than that limited.
Not a lot more than the limited.
Yeah.
So it's kind of your range of what you can tow to specifications is interesting, to say the least.
I think now that I've thought about it, a small livestock gooseneck trailer maybe. You could put something small like
How
that.
about like a
6,000 pounds.
dump trailer? Like
dump trailer,
a
yes.
dump trailer, maybe. But this is a nice truck. I mean, I don't know if you'd be working this every day.
You're renting the dump trailer.
You're renting it for a weekend project.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
To build the
Exactly.
off-road course that you're going to use your off-road 2500 for.
Exactly.
Now, to be fair, I have no air suspension. This is traditional leaf sprung suspension.
Yeah, look at all your leaves.
Yeah,
you
there's-
got all the leaves.
Yeah, they gave me all the leaves that were in stock, with overloads on the top and bottom.
Yeah.
This truck rides.
See?
Oh, it's sport. They don't put the spoiler on the back, they put it on the hood. So this truck rides, I'm just going to be honest, considerably worse than both of those trucks.
Well, because we have a bee approaching
Yeah.
you. Oh, he's good.
Okay.
He's over there. Oh, no, he's back. He's back.
Okay, we've taken care of the bee.
No bees were harmed in the filming of this video. I just want to make it perfectly clear, okay?
Yeah.
He went this way. You were talking about how this rides, but I think it's appropriate. I mean, this
Absolutely.
has how much payload?
Over 5,400 pounds worth of payload capacity.
Wow.
Take both of the payload capacity
Plus
here,
the third one,
plus a third one.
and that's the payload of this.
Exactly.
So of course it was going to ride roughly empty, right?
Yep.
You really need to put something in the bed of this truck or a trailer behind it, right?
And that's the key when you're talking about something like this. There's a lot of folks that will watch this video and say, I would never buy these trucks because of the payload capacity, not realizing that if you buy this truck solely because of the payload capacity, but you don't plan on actually putting weight in the back, your wife, your family, they're going to hate you.
Yes.
You're going to need a
Because it's not,
chiropractor.
yeah, it
And
is
also
not
a dentist, a
smooth
really good
ride.
dentist probably.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Chattering your teeth back and forth.
Yep, with air suspension, I would argue to say these trucks ride as smooth as some SUVs.
Or some
they're not bad.
1500s actually.
Yes, like a half-ton truck.
Yeah, it's almost like a really comfortable ride.
I would say, though, I have to play devil's advocate here, that this ride's considerably more stiff than your GM counterpart, with the solid front axle on this compared to the independent front. But yes, the airbags do help with towing, but I would say that this is probably a little bit more stiff than maybe even a Power Wagon. So,
I think it depends on the tire selections
too.
also.
Yeah,
and these are
pump-
20s.
yeah, these are pumped up to about 45 PSI, or sorry, 70 PSI, I believe.
Yeah, I
It's on
think
the dash.
because it's meant for the way when they loan us vehicles, they're usually aired up to like maximum capacity carrying pressures.
Yeah, they don't know
So
what you're going to do with
we
these trucks.
probably need to, I mean, if you're going off-road, you really need to air it down a little
yeah,
bit,
for
at
sure.
least a little bit.
Yep. You know, if we talk about technology now, both of you guys have a much higher end technology package in this truck. So what's the MSRP on your truck?
Mine is 99 and some change. It's just barely scraping it under $100,000, but that's a lot of options, like $20,000, $30,000 in options.
I have about $23,000 of options on this limited, believe it or not. And part of it is the diesel, actually.
Yeah,
diesel is a big
one.
part of that, but this is $99,000.
Yeah, because that diesel on both of our trucks is a $12,500 option.
$600. So
and this one has the Rebel Level 2 equipment group, so that's $6,500, and then $1,000 for a sunroof, and then you have air, and then you have the paint color. So it just goes on and on. So
and how much is yours? The dually?
86,000 change.
86.
The same diesel,
Yes.
same transmission, no sunroof. I personally hate sunroofs. You live in Seattle, you probably like sunroofs.
yeah.
Are you a sunroof fan?
I never open a sunroof if I have one, but I like the glass.
Okay.
I like the glass.
In South Texas, it's simply a radiant heater.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not a big fan
That
of
makes
them.
sense.
So I don't like a sunroof. This truck does not have a sunroof. You both have supplemental passenger screens as well.
Yeah.
I've had this, and I don't understand honestly the purpose. So this is that screen where you can connect your smartphone to it. You can see movies and control music and all sorts of stuff on it. I first saw this in the Jeep Grand Wagoneer when it came out, and then the Rebel, or not the Rebel, but the half-ton truck got it, and now the heavy-duty trucks have it. You also have the 14-inch Uconnect screen.
Yeah.
I have the 12-inch Uconnect screen, and I'm going to tell you, I actually like the 12-inch Uconnect screen. I think we have this society now of bigger screens are always better.
It's all numbers on a sheet.
Yeah, and, well, for me, honestly, it's just like I like real buttons, personally. But then there's going to be Tesla owners out there and other vehicle owners that are like, the bigger the screen makes vehicles look fancier. But do you really like everything being on the screen, everything being a menu option?
Well, I think we've hit like a tipping point almost. I've noticed in
We're gonna start
manufacturers.
going back down.
Yeah, certain manufacturers, like new ones coming into the game, you know, maybe some of the electric manufacturers like Scout and Slate is a new affordable tiny little, you know, micro truck. They're not talking about big screens anymore.
No.
You know, it's like we reached the tipping point, and I agree with you, especially in a kind of a, you know, dangerous situation. You're on ice, your trailer starts to sway.
Yeah.
You really need to know where your buttons and switches are instead of looking at the screen, you know, during those situations.
Yeah, like we were just talking off camera, where going from the 12 to 14 inch, it's not like you're gaining 2 inches of extra real estate where you're going to be controlling your CarPlay or something.
Not really.
It's literally just replacing physical buttons with touch buttons, which to me, that seems like such a weird thing to do.
Well, especially if you wear gloves. So a lot of folks who own these trucks, they work out in cold environments, they work out on ranches, they may own a farm, and you have gloves on. You don't always want to feel like you have to. You don't want to feel like you have to take those gloves off just to make a selection.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah,
but
that's a good point.
Overall, I mean, of these 3 trucks, which truck, if you were spending your money and you had to pick one, would you pick? And why?
Well, it depends on your purpose too, right?
Yeah.
It depends on your task, right?
Yeah.
If I was pulling a large 5th-wheel camping trailer, I think the dually. You know, wider axle, you know, more tires, more stability, more payload capacity, all those stuff. I think, you know, the best truck I saw at the event, and this is what I always say, so it's not really, you know, surprising probably. It was like a tradesman with like an additional like package on top of it. It was very simple, cloth seats. What else do you need? I mean, it had more payload than this. So I would go a little bit
considerably cheaper too, yeah.
Yeah, it's considerably cheaper. So I would kind of go that way, probably.
You know, if I were to choose for my personal life, I would probably have to go for this Rebel, even though this isn't my first choice if I was shopping in this market. I would have to go with this due to the fact that it is a little bit more off-road capable, but still has some towing capabilities, because I do both those things. I go camping on the weekends, tow small boats or jet ski trailers. And then when I do want to go off-road, I can do that. But realistically, you could buy another trim and just put some off-road tires and maybe even upgrade the shocks.
How about a Power Wagon?
The Power Wagon is pretty dang cool, which that was like the original heavy-duty off-road rig. I think that's awesome, but it's expensive, and it only comes in a Hemi. If you are someone that is looking for that Cummins power as well as the sound, you're out of luck. So hopefully, maybe one day we'll see a Power Wagon with a Cummins, but that's not a guarantee.
You know, for those folks who watch this and they say Ram may have gone the wrong direction with this power plant, not getting into the torque wars, not getting into the major horsepower wars that you're seeing, I think the reality is people need to understand where Ram was before this, that they had a a high output engine, and they had a standard. They had a heavy duty transmission, and they had a standard transmission.
Lots of choices.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you could pick a dually truck that only had like 16,000 pounds of towing capacity if you weren't careful. A lot of people did. They'd go to a dealership, they'd see a dually, they'd watch our videos, and they'd say, man, this truck has 32,000 pounds worth of towing capacity, not realizing because it doesn't have the Aisin transmission and the high output diesel and
Or
the right
maybe
gear
it's a
ratio.
short cab or some,
yes.
yeah, something weird.
There was a huge variety of Ram specs you could get, and now they've simplified it, and any Ram truck you buy is going to give you the most horsepower, the most torque in the Ram model, of course, and what you really have to wrestle with at that point is how much payload capacity you need. That's what it comes down to.
It's a $13,000 thought. I mean,
It is.
If you wanted to go Hemi, great, that's standard. Or you have to fork out $13,000 for.
But you said this truck also is pretty quick. So like, I don't know if we need to have the horsepower war anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, GM opted out of that a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. So, so I mean, at some point, especially if you're working with this truck, efficiency and range are your key parameters, probably.
Range probably more than anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
The transmission's a huge thing too.
And the
to make it
transmission
quicker.
they improved,
Yeah,
right?
you have less to no torque limitations like they used to, where Ford still does, and GM really. I mean, you might be able to correct me more on that. You're definitely more apt to speak on that, but I think the transmission being so bulky and so durable, they're able to ramp in that power a little bit faster. Hence, we get about a second and a half faster.
And these start in
60.
second gear too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you hardly
if
are
you're
ever using
normally
first.
driving it just normally, and it doesn't really need the first until you pull something really heavy.
Yeah.
Right?
So the transmission, I feel like, is probably the biggest improvement outside of the refinements they've made to the Cummins motor.
And to be honest, it's an all-new transmission.
Yeah.
You know, once we start hearing more about trucks with a couple 100,000 miles on them, and we can see he's back.
There he is.
He's not.
My
not
hope is that they say that the ZF 8-speed is built for medium duty applications. So in that case, I would. Oh wow, he's in my ear.
He likes those microphones.
I think it might be.
I think he likes
does.
the mic, or maybe he hates the microphones. Don't hit him.
He hit him.
I think we need to probably close this video soon because
we got to get going.
He's going to go get some friends too.
The bees are coming out, and also we gotta be at this event.
We're going to a mysterious event.
So we gotta go now.
Just take off, gentlemen. I really appreciate it. There will be links in the description of this video to both of your channels. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
so we can
thanks
do
for
this.
having me.
JD, it's great to see you. I haven't seen you in a couple of years.
It really is.
Nice
It
to
really
meet
is.
you.
Very nice to meet you too,
to meet
brother.
you.
All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. If you haven't had a chance to take a moment, subscribe to all the channels. We could always use the support and love.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you.